Welcome to Fostering Blooms, the podcast where we dig deep into gardening and all the ways it can enrich your home and life.
Together, we'll explore every aspect of gardening the organic way, keeping it simple, accessible, and fun.
Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just getting your hands in the dirt, we're here to share the tips and insights you need to grow something truly special. I'm Shannon Foster-Boline.
And I'm Caitlyn Blum, and we're two friends on a mission to cultivate beauty, creativity, and connection through everything we grow.
This is Fostering Blooms.
Oh my gosh, it's May.
It's May. That's crazy. It's flown by.
I can't even believe it's May because I keep thinking, oh, I don't have to plant my beans till May 1st. I have plenty of time. And I'm like, oh shit, it's May.
Yeah. Same with the dahlias too. And we'll get to it on our to-dos, but I feel behind. We say that every month.
Well, I know. We do. We're really not that behind.
No, we're not. There's always stuff to do.
Yeah.
Let's sit with that. But there's always stuff to do.
Always stuff.
Here's what we should do in May.
Okay.
So weeding. That's so generic. We've gotten a lot of rain. There's beautiful sunshine. The weeds are really kicking in. However, if you've done some good bed prep, done your mulches and your leaf layers and your cardboard, then hopefully you don't have as much weeding to do as if you just threw some more soil down on top of your beds or etc. But something I did want to bring up that lesson learned is on my pastoral hillside garden that I'm doing. I had these alliums coming up in February, but I still needed to do my no-dig bed prep around them. So I used butcher paper, but it wasn't painter's paper, the thicker painter's paper. It was like a butcher paper. It wasn't thick enough because now I have weeds coming up. It's really bad. So this is lesson learned. It was really easy to roll it out though and kind of cut circles around where I could see the alliums coming up.
Yeah.
But now I'm contending with a lot of weeds.
Yeah.
So lesson learned.
The painter's paper works really well. I will say the area around our oak tree where I've made that new bed, we put painter's paper down that whole area and mulched over it last year. That was just like the quick solution. And this year I'm starting to have weeds break through, but not in massive amounts and very easy to go out there and pull them. I'm just going to lay another layer of mulch down and it'll probably last me pretty well this year. But yeah, it has to be that really thick painter's paper. It costs about $40 a roll, so it's not cheap. Yeah. But I think with the hillside, we were worried with the cardboard that it was going to kind of like slide off.
Yeah, and I did cardboard on some of it, but there was nothing underneath it. Like I didn't have any plants that I'd already planted, but I wanted to get those alliums in the fall.
Yeah.
So they could come up in the spring. So if I had done it right, I would have done the hillside, then put the alliums. But I kind of tacked onto the project like, oh, I'm going to do this now. Oh, I'm going to do this now. But it'll be okay. And I'll just continue to pull the weeds. And the problem is it's not only weeds, but it's the grass. I covered up lawn.
Right.
And something I should have done too is probably weed whacked that area really low before I did it.
Yeah.
But I had all those alliums sticking up. So I would have been like, weed whack. It just was, it's all right. So weed.
Yeah. Weeding is it is intense right now. I will say that I decided around the wooden raised bed section of the vegetable garden, the original section, I put landscape fabric down and I'm going to do the crushed lime screenings because I spent so much time every year weeding over there. The cardboard and mulch layer that I had done had worn down and I could have done another layer of mulch, but I really want to do the limestone screenings.
It looks so nice.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to do it throughout the whole post. I have to tell you, the other day when I walked over there to harvest some lettuce, I felt such a sense of relief.
But you didn't have to worry about the weeds.
I have to weed.
It really
is. And I know that the weeds will pop up sometimes through the screenings, but they're a lot easier to get out because they don't have the soil. So you can just kind of pluck them.
And that screen lime is really cheap.
It's really inexpensive. I get it at Site One. I mean, there are companies that will bring a dump truck full.
It's a lot.
For like $350, which if I could get a dump truck full up here and have a place to dump it. It's the way my driveway is. It's really not that conducive to it. So we get it in a bag, kind of like you can get bag soil, and then we put it on our trailer and bring it up here.
How much is a bag of that?
It's a ton of rock,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about $50. And then you pay for the bag. So yeah, I mean,
Wow. To me, that's just, and you can do a huge space with that.
yeah, and gravel is a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
And I love gravel, but I've had gravel in a garden before. And the one thing I would say is that even if you do gravel, you should probably put down limestone screenings first, because you're just going to kind of sink into it. The screenings, like when it rains, they kind of harden up a little bit. I feel like it's a very affordable solution. And there may be some areas I go back and put a little pea gravel if there's a certain look I want. But to do such a big space and then to be able to easily replenish and maintain it. But let me tell you, it's a good workout when you're shoveling off a load of 1,000 pounds of gravel. It goes faster than you think.
Yeah.
It's been a good way to lay down pathways and then slowly add that in and reduce some of the weed pressure that I have throughout the whole garden.
And aesthetically, it looks really pretty.
Yeah, it matches my little English garden aesthetic that I'm going for.
And I think I volunteered to help you with some of this gravel
you
spreading.
did.
Yeah. So I'll be here this week
Yeah.
spreading gravel.
Well, the goal was I ordered 3 bags and we were going to have Beth be the driver. So this is like a getaway thing. Beth is going to be the driver. She's going to go pick a bag up, and then Caitlyn and I were going to unload. I think I was going to enlist Joe to help us. And then we were going to like quickly unload one bag and then have her go get another one so we could try to like knock a lot of it out in a day.
Smart. I'll bring my wheelbarrow too.
Yes, please bring it.
Okay,
but
I will.
the other areas I try to get right up to it so I can just like hoof it off and then spread it.
Hoof it.
Foof, 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 you know.
We did get off on a tangent, but this is what we're doing in May.
Yeah.
And this is how we're doing it.
It is. And I got to tell you, I really want to get as much done in May as I can. I would have liked to have had more of it in April, but I had a hard time getting the screenings. I mean, when it's 80 degrees out there,
It's getting
I
tough
feel like
now.
I'm going to die and my
know.
body's just not used to it. Things that I know I want to do in May is finish any landscape fabric that I have, because that stuff is so hot to
It
put
is.
down when it gets warm. And try to put in as much edging as I can, although I have done that before in like 93-degree weather.
No, that was
I don't
fun.
recommend it.
You could do it in a bathing
literally
suit with a
gets-
sprinkler.
It gets so hot.
You just like, it just sprinkles on you in
Right,
your
it's
bathing
just
suit as you continue
yeah,
to.
that would
I actually
be-
might do that.
The metal got so hot that if you pick it up without gloves, you'll
God.
burn yourself.
Well,
Yeah.
there's
So,
sprinkler.
yeah, there you go. That's the solution.
Here is how
Set
you
up a
stay
slip and
cool.
slide afterwards and just head on. We
This
got
is-
lots of hills here, so
This
we could
is
do
how you
that.
stay cool.
That's right.
While you garden at 90-degree weather.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
All right, what else we got?
Really, we're talking about setting up things, drip irrigation. I can't recommend it enough. It's not that hard. It's just you need to get out there and just do it. It can take a little bit of time. So I'm trying to kind of trick myself mentally and say, hey, every day I'm just going to go out and put out like 2 lines.
That's a great
It
idea.
literally is like
It'll
5
add up.
minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 2 lines, punch a hole, stick it in, put your stopper on the end, do one more, and then I'm done. That's all I have to do. Because if I did 2 lines every day for 2 weeks, then I would have all the new areas done.
That's great.
Because unfortunately, the way my brain works is like I decide to tackle a project, I'm going to do like all of it at one time. And so I'm out there for like 6 hours, you know.
I know. Me
So
too.
I'm trying to like chunk things out in little bits.
That's smart. That's smart. I'm gonna text you every day and say, "Hey, did you get
Did
your
you
2 lines in?
Yeah. Well,
Did
know,
you do 2 lines today?"
that sounds really bad. So if you just heard this part of the podcast,
These are drip lines.
Drip
not
lines.
Other type of lines.
yeah, not the ones that are white. All right. Okay. Oh, and also if you are going to do rain barrels, this is a good time to go ahead and get those set up as well. So anything to do with irrigation, basically, really make your life easy.
Capitalize on the spring rain to fill
Yeah.
your barrel.
Oh, yeah. We've had a really good week this week, which makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Although I just read the Farmer Almanac's prediction for summer, and they're like, it will be especially hot and dry, hottest year on record kind of thing. And I'm like,
Okay.
awesome.
Great.
Like last year, which really stunk.
It really did.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a drip
So-
irrigation and it's gonna help.
I mean, there's nothing like laying in bed when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I gotta go water. Oh, wait. No, I don't. Because you can even get drip irrigation for pots.
Yeah.
So if you're only gardening in pots, or you only want to garden in pots, or that's the only space you have, guess what? You can still do it.
Yeah.
Get a Wi-Fi timer, set that timer,
Yeah.
I love the beehive one because it skips if rain is predicted.
That's so cool.
So
Gosh,
cool.
that's so cool. All right.
Planning out stuff.
Okay, so we have a lot of goodies to plan out.
Woo!
You have done some amazing tomato starts. I mean, our tomatoes are this tall.
They're like
this is like
trees.
1.5 feet tall.
Yeah, I keep calling them tomato trees.
They are. They're just superb. And you started them in...
I started them really early, 1st of March.
Okay, wow.
Because last year I had my tomato and pepper fail. And I'm glad I did because for some reason I decided to experiment again with another type of tray. And a lot of things did okay, but some things didn't. So it gave me the time. But yes, the Chef's Choice red tomatoes, they are huge.
To get my trellis, I'm going to do all my tomatoes on cattle panel trellises.
Yes.
As do you. I did some like that last year. But really, when you think about it, tomatoes take up a lot of space in your beds. And having those big ass tomato cages, you know, you have 4, that's going to take up like a huge space. So when you can go vertical, really, in anything that climbs or you're able to trellis up, it really saves you a lot of space to plant other things.
Yeah, and you could go get a rose trellis, but the reason that we like the cow panel arches is one, affordability. I'm just going to be honest, they're inexpensive. They're not that hard to put up. They can be a little fiddly at first, but once you figure it out, and they actually have a lot of space.
So much
So
space.
like with a rose trellis, it's really designed for like one kind of climbing rose.
And I don't even think they're big enough.
Yeah. And so with the cow panels, you know, it's really cool. You get 2 of them, put them together. Last year I grew 4 tomato varieties on each side. This year I'm going to do 3 on each side because I want to give them a little bit more room to spread.
It was huge. It was so packed in.
Yeah. The cherry tomato that I grow, which you'll be growing as a sun gold, and they are very vigorous. You got to rein those in at the end of the season. I was like, go for it, baby. If I had let it go all summer, it would have taken up probably 1 whole side of 2 cow panels.
Yeah.
Like that's how vigorous it is.
So trellis in your tomatoes. I need to get my cattle panel in and I'll do that. Another thing I'm going to do too is your tomatoes grew insanely well last year. I was like, okay, what did you do? So you did, I would love to do that in my beds, but I have raised beds. They're probably like 2 foot high. The previous owners put these raised beds in, they put chicken wire at the bottom on the ground and then filled in the soil. I've dug a lot of it out and sliced through the chicken wire and pulled it out, especially when I planted a rose there. So for the tomatoes, I'm going to dig a trench. I'm actually going to plant them sideways. That sounds weird, but you have your tomato in your pot, and then you have probably a good 3 or 4 inches above it that have those little knobbly things on there. Those will turn into roots.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to lay that tomato root system horizontal in the trench. I'm trying to describe this so people listening can understand.
Yeah.
And lay it sideways and then bend up the tomato plant where it's growing and then cover it. I'm putting it in a trench style. And then that way those roots can grow out horizontally and they'll have more space in the raised bed as opposed to me digging a deep hole and running into the chicken wire and stuff.
And the roots will go through the chicken wire.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they put chicken wire in there. I still don't understand. It doesn't stop weeds. It's literally got holes in it.
I don't know.
It doesn't. Maybe to keep animals from coming up?
Maybe, but it's like they'll just go on top of the bed.
Right. I don't know.
I have no clue. So
one thing I would say is that if you're going to do it sideways, I think that's brilliant. It's the same difference as me digging a hole down. Yeah. Yes, my tomato tree is 1.5 feet tall. I leave 1/2 foot above ground. Exactly. So you're basically like you would do if you were doing a climbing rose, really.
Yeah.
Like how you would tilt it towards. I think it's fantastic.
So it's another way to go about it depending on the design of your setup, if you have a raised bed, etc.
We have a list of things on here for planting out, but this is the season, y'all.
Yeah, tomatoes, peppers, eggplants.
Beans. Remember I said in the beginning, it's already bean time. Oh.
We have to do that too. We have got to plant out your 2,000, or is it 20,000 pounds of beans?
20,000 pounds.
She's doing 20,000 pounds of beans.
20,000 pounds of beans. You heard it here first. No, the goal is to do 6 varieties in 40-foot rows, and I'll have basically 240 pounds of beans. The point is that there's a lot of bean work ahead of me. And these are shelling beans that I'm talking about. I've never grown shelling beans before, except for some Christmas lima beans. So I really want to give this a go. But this is also the time to plant vining beans, like green beans. I've got the cucumbers started. I'm going to give them another week inside and then harden them off outside. Make sure you cover those so that you can protect them from cucumber beetles until they start flowering. Those will go up a trellis as well. They did really well on the trellis last year. Eggplants definitely cover. We're going to talk about pests in a second.
You've had quite the pest. Knock on wood, the only thing that I've had is red fire ants in a corner of my garden.
I have those everywhere.
So I
everywhere.
had to treat those, but I did want to mention something else. I'm doing zucchini and squash.
Yes.
I did this rolling the little snail bundle with the soil, and I actually just left them outside.
Interesting.
And they're sprouted.
Oh, awesome.
So I have zucchini and squash coming up, and they're just sitting on the porch, and I just keep them really watered, and they're coming up. So I didn't even put them downstairs in the grow room.
You know, this year we are at least 3 weeks ahead in terms of warmth of where we were last year.
Agreed. I think that's why we feel behind.
Yeah, my roses are blooming like they would in middle May.
Yes.
So they're beautiful, but it's like I'm shocked, and I'm out there like, okay, I'm not quite ready for this. I'm picking rose bouquets and it's not even May 1st. I think that is why we feel behind and why you can leave the snail outside. Watch Instagram if you want to see what she's talking about. It'll be a good reel. I'm sure she'll be posting it once she gets them in the ground.
That is a good idea.
Yeah. So, but you're like, oh,
You're right,
I'm doing a reel.
That's right. Check it out.
Check it out. There will be a reel. I mean, flower-wise, I've been putting out all my dahlias, however you want to say it. I have my last 3 that I ordered. Nope, that's not true because Caitlyn gave me some for her birthday gifts. But the last 3 that I ordered are here today, and I'm going to plant those out. And then the ones that I grew from seed last year will be getting out. Like if you have roses, bare root time is kind of done, but potted roses you can still do. Pretty much anything you want to plant except... except what I would not plant right now is you could do it, but better just to wait. Boxwood is actually pretty tough though. I will say boxwood is one of the shrubs that's an evergreen that, you know, is it ideal? No. Will it be okay? Yeah. Like if I found a boxwood I liked right now, I have a couple places I'd like a few, I'd throw it in. I just make sure water it really well, get that drip irrigation on it. But like thujas, you really have to wait until fall. But everything else is kind of fair game, like hydrangeas and roses and perennials and all that stuff.
Time to do it.
Yeah.
And speaking of the dahlias, I am still working on my patch. I need to burn my holes. I need to clear another row. And I would have gotten my dahlias in the ground by now. So because I'm having to wait to prep the area that they're going in, what I have done is I've potted them up. So I have them all sitting in soil. They are actually outside on the deck as well.
Great.
They're staying very moist. The rain was really good for them and they're sprouting.
Awesome.
I feel anxious not getting them in the ground. I'm like, now is the time, but I got to finish that area. So at least they're in soil. They're starting their growth.
Yeah, you're fine.
Situations.
Like if you were going to talk about a generous plant.
Yeah.
Like if this plant came to life as a person, they'd be like Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
They're just so good.
It's such a great way to describe the dahlia.
Yeah.
You're like Mother Teresa.
Beautiful and unique and giving. I mean, they just, if you get them in the ground in late May, they'll be like, okay. And they're still going to bloom until October.
Absolutely.
You know, so it just, you might have a little shorter window, but not that much. So I just think, you know, no worries. Pests. I do want to talk about pests. This is a hard time of year because you can get caught off guard like I did. I was putting that landscape fabric down for the vegetable garden, and I worked on it in the morning when it was kind of nice and cool, and I went and did my day job for a while, and then I came back at night to finish up some things, and I look up at my lettuce bed, and there are hundreds of flea beetles crawling around the edge. And I had noticed the night before I have this mesclun mix. I have 3 mesclun mix plants. I just harvested a couple days before. And I noticed they were like stripped down. And I have a lot of like bunnies and little things running around here. I thought, well, somebody just got in there and and
Well,
got it,
didn't.
I looked at those plants and I wish I would have taken a video, but I was in such shock. I was just like, oh my God.
You didn't
get
have
out.
time to video.
My thought was save everything. But if you look at it, the top of it is literally moving blackness.
That's insane.
It was like a horror film. There was probably 400 beetles on just like one plant.
There were probably thousands of beetles.
I think there were thousands
that had emerged
and
while you were at work.
Yes. So I thought, yeah, exactly. That's what happens when you go do your real job. Beetles emerge.
You leave the garden.
Right. Things happen.
Unattended.
Bad things happen. So I reached down and I thought, okay, I'm going to just throw these in water like I would Japanese beetles, Had my flower picking metal bucket. And I just started plunking those plants in there. But those beetles, they do not drown like Japanese beetles do. I had paper towels and I was wiping them off the side of the bed. And so I threw everything in there, covered it with a trash bag so that I could flip it later, dump it and throw it away. In the meantime, hustled on down to Tractor Supply, grabbed me some diatomaceous earth, which you can put it on the plants. It's not going to harm you. The thing about it is that it's like a white powder. So it looks like a powder donut exploded in my garden. But within a couple days, it sliced their exoskeletons and it seemed to be under control. I actually sprinkled it on everything because they really like brassicas is one of the things they tend to go after, which is why they went after the mescaline first. I think they emerge in the evening.
Okay.
Anyways, there's too many to hand pick them. They're too small. We were out there the other night. You stopped by for a few things and they were all over my arugula again. And the rain will wash away that diatomaceous earth. So I'm going to have to be super vigilant because for whatever reason, I have thousands of them this year, whereas last year I had just a handful that got some eggplant.
I've never had them. I've never had flea beetles.
Yeah, I haven't really either. The thing is that this is just going to be a cycle for me for a while because prior to me taking this land and expanding this garden, they only grew asparagus and some blackberries. And a lot of the controls were chemical controls. And, I'm not trying to be judgy because everybody needs to do what works for them. Yeah. And sometimes you may feel and I've felt that sometimes I have to use a chemical. That's the only way. But I really try not to do that here. So everything I use is organic. And that's primarily what I've always done. But the point is that I'm not here to judge other people's decisions. Oh. But because there were a lot of chemical controls in this yard, the balance of predators and prey, it wasn't there. Yeah. Just everything was getting killed. So now the predators are coming in, these predators on my vegetables, but I also have to let the things come in that are going to eat them. So I may look into ordering some nematodes and some parasitic wasps.
So cool.
Yeah, because I think that that's one way to introduce them. And if the thing about that I've read is that if you do order them, you really need to make sure you have the thing there for them to eat. Yeah. In other words, I've watched my ladybug population grow substantially since I started gardening. They used to swarm once a year, the first year we were here. Now I see them all year round. Makes me very happy. Hopefully my aphids will remain in control because we've got good, healthy populations. I've accepted the fact there's just going to be some years where I'm going to have some things show up because the things that eat them don't know they're here yet. Mm-hmm. So I got to let it balance out a little bit. But in the meantime, there are things that we can hand pick. Japanese beetles will probably be showing up pretty soon.
Japanese beetles, not last year, but the year before, I got swarmed. They took over the grape vineyard. I mean, just annihilated it. And I would go out there in the morning with a bucket of soapy water and hand pick them off all the vines. I could only do so much of that. I mean, it got crazy. So last year I sprinkled milky spore everywhere in the yard. Mm-hmm. And that really helped. And it lasts for 2 years. So I'll see what it does this year. But that really helped reduce the population.
Well, every year has its challenges. So I had a really bad swarm of those the same time you did. Last year we had the double cicada event.
That's right.
Literally our back porch was covered with them. We had to blow them off every day because it was you couldn't see the concrete. Oh. I mean, I was out there. They were flying in my hair. It was crazy. They did a lot of damage to my hostas. So it's just nature.
It is. It's just, it is. We're outside.
It's just
they
live
happen. There.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're just hanging out in their space.
Exactly. So grow a little extra, but things
cut
that
them a break.
Yeah. Potato beetles and asparagus beetles you can handpick. This is going to be my 3rd year with potatoes. So far, knock on the woods, I haven't had potato beetles, but I feel like they're going to show up. I had cucumber beetles and squash beetles last year and all that stuff.
I do get a lot of squash beetles. That's probably
Yeah.
the biggest thing.
I'm going to try to cover those cucumbers right away and see if that helps a little bit so they can't lay their eggs.
What are you covering them with? Your netting?
Yeah, it's like a white insect netting you can buy.
What are you doing? Just wrapping it like this? How do you trellis it and wrap
So
it?
I'm not going to you do it when it starts climbing, just when they're young, when they haven't really started to expand as much.
Okay.
Just in the beginning where a lot of those pests come in and lay. And maybe that'll help initially, but we'll see.
So last things we have on here is netting your fruiting bushes and staking as well. You need to stake now so you're not screwed later like your dahlias. Put a stake where you do it. I'm actually doing something really cool. In my front bed, I'm doing just 3 dahlias out there, I decided, to kind of fill in the space. And I'm making a 3-legged trellis with grape vineyard hoops on them. Grapevines. What did I say? Grape vineyards?
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm going to put a whole grape vineyard out there. I have one.
Love it.
And make little cages for them. So it'll be cute. So I'm doing that now so that when it's growing, I'm not having to dangle that thing on there. So stake your stuff now and have your stuff in place to do that, because as stuff grows, you're going to be like, oh, this needs somewhere to go.
I'm already doing that in my head. I'm thinking, oh God, I'm already missing the boat. But it is important with all the beans that I'm going to do. I've got the stakes out there already set up to do it. And I use the, not as cute as what she's doing, but the Hortonova netting. You can buy it through Johnny's. And one roll will last you many years unless your garden is like a huge farm. So get the green kind of, not the big tea stakes, but the smaller ones. And when you plant everything, you put your stakes in, and then you slide your first level of Hortonova over it, and then your second one, and that's it, you're done.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very effective.
Very effective.
You can't do a grapevine little trellis for each one of your beans. I mean, that's insane. This is effective for what you're growing.
Yeah. So anyways, it doesn't necessarily look as sexy, but when everything grows in, you don't really see it as much.
Oh
so
yeah, who cares?
It'll be fun.
You're growing a lot of food, and that's great.
Yeah. I think that's it. You know, obviously you're going to finish up your collards or your kale and cabbage and all that stuff is going to come to an end as it starts to get warmer.
Mine's bolting, but I can't take it out.
I know. My arugula was starting to bolt, and I'm going to go out there and give it a good whack back today and see how much longer I can keep it in my battle with the flea beetles and the heat. But I really love when the arugula's in.
Oh, I do too. I know. And I have some smaller plants that I'm hoping maybe won't bolt too much. We'll see.
All right.
So much to do.
So much to do.
Get out there and garden.
Go do it. Let's go get dirty.
Let's go grow, baby.
Thanks for listening to Fostering Blooms. If this episode inspired you, send it to a friend who's ready to ditch bland grocery store radishes and get spicy in the garden with us. We'd love it if you left us a 5-star review. That helps other people like you find our podcast. And don't forget to tag us on Instagram when your blooms show off. Until next time, let's go grow, baby.